Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be jerks, nice guys, and assertive men. I've got 4 emails I'm going to go through with you today, but before we get into it, I have a quote I want to share with you. And it says, the reason nice guys tend to finish last is that they are so nice to the point that they let other people, especially women, walk all over them. The nice guy tends to be approval-seeking and constantly puts his own personal needs last and never stands up for himself when other people try to jerk him around or take advantage of him. Jerks and bad boys are able to get women because they are assertive to the point that they can be mean, controlling, and don't apologize for it. Their relationships tend to be volatile, drama-filled, in messy breakups, and broken hearts. The assertive nice man who is a charming gentleman but who stands up for himself and is willing to walk away when he is taken for granted or mistreated tends to have effortless and drama-free relationships. He knows what he wants and is unwilling to settle or compromise his values. He embodies what women really want in a man. He knows how to treat women and they love him for it. So let's get in the first guy's email. He says, hey coach, since birth, parents, pastors, church, family, teachers, lecturers, managers, police, elders, etc. force us to be nice guys, but why and what's the point if being a total douchebag gets you far more girls? Sure, I shouldn't have listened, but what's a child supposed to do? I've wasted 30 plus years being a nice guy with 0 results. It's until I turned into a total asshole and being mean to women that I started to get heaps of them. So why do these people mentioned hurt us mentally and physically and force us to be nice guys if it doesn't work in the long run? Douchebags and losers get to score and fuck way more girls than nice guys do, so why do they force us to be nice guys if it doesn't work? Well, obviously the situation that you have, it's not that you need to be an asshole or a jerk, it's that you need to stand up for yourself. And I think a big part of this is you look at the feminist movement and how it's kind of obviously started out in the beginning doing things to stand up for women's rights, because you look at 70, 80, 100 years ago, women were pretty much treated like dirt and like possessions and didn't really have any equal rights. But it's kind of gotten all the way over to the flip to the other side of the point where, I mean, if you just look at what you see on TV, most of the time, men are constantly berated, put down, and treated in essence like second-class citizens, and all they seem to be concerned about is having sex. They're made fun of as being idiots and totally fucking useless. And of course, the women are brilliant and smart and humorous, and they're more masculine. I mean, most people, especially you look at people in government or anybody in majority of the people in positions of leadership, they get there by being fucking devious liars, especially politicians. You don't get to the top of your political party unless you're the most craftiest and most devious and dishonest liar. And you're just good at bullshitting people and telling them what they want to hear. But at the end of the day, the people that are supposedly the leaders, they don't know any better. I mean, you just look at some of the shit that goes on with these people that the people in the media puts to us as, oh, these are great people, they're successful, we should want to be rich and famous like them. But when you look into their relationships, they're constantly getting married and divorced and having all kinds of drama that plays out in the public. You look at these politicians, you got a former president of ours, I did not have sex with that, or sexual relations with that woman. He's fucking full of shit. It's like, come on, he's a fucking pussy, and his wife tends to act more like a man. Even look at our current president. If you watch him and his wife interact, it's obvious that she wears the pants in the family. He's always like with his little dainty finger, like dear, putting his little finger on her arm, like, oh, please, will you talk to me? It's obvious she wears the pants in the family, and he acts like a fucking pussy. And you can see that in how he shows up and how he acts in his foreign policy and how he acts when he's on TV. He's weak. He is not centered in his masculinity. He acts more feminine than he does masculine. You look at a lot of the most successful actors in Hollywood and the roles they play. They tend to be these effeminate men with kind of feminine hairstyles, and they dress a feminine way, and yet they're presented to us like we should want to emulate this. And you think about it, I mean, how many relationships have you seen in your life where the man clearly acts masculine and the woman clearly acts feminine? Not that she gets dominated, but she's comfortable letting the man in her life lead the relationship. And they're happy, they're in love, they still have a great sex life, they have a great family, their kids have healthy self-esteem, they don't grow up with all kinds of wacky problems or drug problems or not doing well in school or getting into trouble all the time. I mean, those kinds of families are extremely rare. And so it's like, I know for me personally, I can count on one hand the amount of couples that I've met throughout my life that I've gotten to know personally and closely that have what I consider a great long-term marriage or relationship where they may have lived together or have dated for a lot of years, several decades. And that's the exception. That's not the norm. I mean, our divorce rate's over 65%. And so if you're getting married, there's a 65% chance that your marriage is going to end in failure. In other words, the chances are more likely that you're not going to stay married than stay married. And most people tend to marry for the wrong reasons, like I did when I was in my mid-20s. And human beings in general tend to be kind of like groupthink or herd type of mentality. And when someone's different and they kind of go against the grain and they don't conform to what society's supposed ideals are, so everybody around them ridicules them and puts them down or treats them harshly or tries to get them to conform so everybody else will feel good about themselves. And so as a child, and you grow up and you spend a lot of time watching TV or movies, and this is what you see day in and day out, oh, this is how you go about getting a girl, is you act like a ridiculous fucking pussy, and you chase her around, and you act like a stalker, and you just keep pursuing, and eventually she throws in the towel and falls in love with you. And of course you see that a couple thousand times. You get into your teenage years, you don't really have anybody at home that can teach you these things, because more than likely you don't have a good relationship with your parents where you can actually talk to your parents and ask for advice, or they could even give you any advice that's actually useful or helpful to them. Or a lot of therapists and psychologists, they don't know any better. They don't know how to teach this stuff. I coach a lot of psychologists and therapists and counselors personally, and I teach them these things to help them be better in their practice, because they've obviously realized that what they're doing in a lot of cases is not working when it comes to relationships, to help them in essence be more effective. I really enjoy working with them because I can help them be more effective at what it is they do with people. So it's like, I mean, guys really don't have a chance when you're just bombarded with, you can call it propaganda or brainwashing, whatever you want. When you see thousands of television shows and thousands of movies over the time, from the time you're a little boy watching TV until you become an adult and you actually start dating and getting relationships, where it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's like you're taught this bullshit make-believe fantasy of how the world isn't. And it's so prevalent in Hollywood. I mean, think about it. So it's like, of course it's going to affect you in a negative way, or the average guy in a negative way. And then so you react to it, and you go out and you apply these things. And us guys, we tend to be egocentric. And especially when it comes around a dating relationship. Because I know when I first started learning about this stuff 15, 17 years ago after my divorce, I mean, I'd come to the office and I'd have the book in like a newspaper or something, or in a magazine, or in my briefcase so nobody could see it. And then when I was reading, I would close and lock my door because I was embarrassed about it. And the average guy feels pretty insecure about those things. And the interesting thing is 95% of the self-help books on dating and relationships, guess who buys them? Women. Only 5% are bought by men. That should teach you a lot. That should show you who's really trying to improve and who's not. And that's why another reason why women tend to help be a lot more experienced and knowledgeable at understanding attraction and dating and relationships than the average guy does. Because the average guy will just keep beating his head against the wall and failing, instead of buying a self-help book or subscribing to a YouTube channel like mine, or hiring somebody like me to coach them and teach them fundamentals that actually work. But the good news is things are changing slowly by surely. It's inch by inch, millimeter by millimeter. So let's get into the second guy's email. He says, "Hey Corey, I've been watching tons and tons of your videos lately, and I'm definitely going to buy your book soon, and I really love your videos. However, I've got to them a little late. I broke up with my girlfriend of a year about 2.5 months ago. I had a lot going on, and she was just squeezing too tight, and I crumbled. I broke her heart, and we were in love, and I forgot all the amazing things that we had just because of a few things that were holding me back. Well, since then, I realized that I did things wrong, and I made a mistake. About 3 weeks ago, I told her how I feel, and I pretty much begged for her to take me back, and that didn't work. Big surprise, because you're in essence acting like a woman. I mean, obviously, if you really were an asshole to her, you were a jerk in essence, and you blew her off and you dumped her and you tossed her out like the trash, basically, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, you're like, uh-oh, I made a mistake. I got a buddy of mine that has done that. He's been with this girl for, I think it's close to 6 years now, and he has a child with her. And he's gotten back together and broke up with her, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, to the point where he's like really nasty. The things that he says to her, like, I don't find you attractive, I don't like the way your body is shaped, you should get some plastic surgery, which she obviously went and got plastic surgery, you don't turn me on, I can't stand you. I mean, he's constantly cheating on her when they were together. And then of course she moves back out of state, back to with her family, and then a month or two later he's like, hey Corey, you gotta help me get her back, she's the love of my life. I was like, dude, come on. It's like, I know this guy, it's like for 10 years I've been helping him get this, not only her, but his ex-wife. I helped him get her back, because it's like whenever the guy gets dumped, he always seems to think that, no, I'm in love and I gotta get this girl, I gotta have her. And then he gets her back, a few months later, same shit. Because like all the things that turn you off about that person, they're still there. But it's like when you're the one that gets dumped, or like in this particular case, you were a jerk, and then you're like, uh-oh, I haven't found anybody better. Oh, I don't think I'm going to find anybody else. And then so you go running back to the same person. It's like the same pattern over and over and over. So it's like when I look over the past 10 years, there's like 4 different women that have helped him get back. And like this one particular woman, it's like over the course of 6 years, it's like 4 or 5 times he's been through this. And in the past year, he had a kid with her. And, you know, this was after he flew up to her parents' house and apologized to her parents. What a dick. I mean, he said some really cruel, mean things to her. And so he went, I told him what to do, and he went and apologized, and he did all that, and she took him back. She got pregnant. They had a kid together. He's still fucking 4 or 5 girls on the side. And it's just, it's like, that's kind of the way he is. Because like for him, it's like he's got to get that constant stimulation of, especially he likes chasing women that are challenged and that won't sleep with him, or they tell him there's no way, or you have a girlfriend, or you have a kid with this girl. And it's like he likes that. It's just, that's just like what pushes his button. It's partly like an addiction, in my opinion, that he breaks up, and then he gets back together, and then he's always got these women on the side. It's like he's never satisfied because he's still seeking something outside of himself. Always trying to get the girl back that he screwed up with, or always trying to get get in the pants of the girl who says there's no way I'm sleeping with you. So he says, I gave it some time to possibly let things recuperate, and after that time, I initiated contact again, and we were civil with each other. From then, I tried to make plans to talk to her and hang out as friends, bad way to go, to let her know I've changed. Now, that's approval-seeking behavior. That's what you see on TV all the time. This is like how the typical sitcom goes. The beginning of the episode starts out, the guy does something ridiculously stupid, then he lies and hides it from his wife, and then, of course, she finds out about it, and guess what happens? She gets really pissed and acts like a real mad man, in essence. And then he starts falling and fumbling all over himself, trying to apologize and jump through his butt to prove himself to her, to prove why she's such a great woman and he's such a steaming pile of shit. But yet, hopefully, she'll maybe potentially give him another chance. And then, of course, by the end of the episode, they kiss and make up, and it's like everything's all better until next week when the same fucking shit basically happens all over again. So he says, soon after we got to, because it's like, if you ever watched the old TV series Married with Children, what I liked about that show is that Al Bundy's character, he didn't really have a great marriage, but he always like stood up to her. And he never let his dingbat wife, Peg was her name. She always played this ditzy wife. He never let her walk all over him. But, I mean, deep down, he obviously cared about her, but he still kind of treated her like dirt. And, he didn't act like a pussy. And that's one of the things that worked, is because and at least with the sitcom, is because he was funny. I mean, it was a really hilarious show. Not that I'm saying that you want to go out and act like Al Bundy. Like a sitcom that I think is a really great sitcom is the old Cosby Show, because Bill Cosby always acted like a man, but he was always charming and sweet and playful, and he always was teasing his wife, and she always ate it up. And if he did something wrong, he would apologize like a man. He wouldn't like get on his knees and like, "Oh, Your Highness, please forgive me. I'm so sorry." There was always like a lesson to learn and some wisdom to learn. And that's the only, because I don't really watch a lot of TV. That's the only sitcom that had a healthy family life. I thought that's something good to emulate. Another show that I think is really good if you wanna watch to see a great bantering and flirting is there's a show called Castle, and this guy's like a mystery murder writer, and he works with like the police department, and his girlfriend or fiance is her name is Beckett is the character. She's really pretty woman. Where is she from? The Ukraine or something like that, I think. And it's just the two of them are always so playful with one another, and she says things, and he thinks that she's being serious, and then he says something back. But it's always charming banter and flirting that's going on. There's always this great sexual tension between the two of them. And so there's at times, obviously, when they're solving a murder, they're serious and they make things happen. But like I said, there's always this great humor, and it's a really great interaction of a man who mostly acts like a man, a woman who mostly acts like a woman, but she's very sexy and she's very feminine at times, but she also is able to navigate, the road kind of like Eva Longoria does, and still be in her feminine, but also participate in her masculinity and achieve and succeed in a man's world. And the actress does a really fucking great job of it. So if you want to see how a good way to watch a man and woman, it's like, I really enjoy that because it's a lot of fun. They're always making fun of each other in a playful, sweet, charming way. So he says, soon after we got together on group dates with friends, she was acting happy around me and was showing me feelings. After a few more hangouts, she started ignoring me, and I did the wrong thing and continued to try and talk to her. So that tells me you continue to chase. Soon after, she texted me telling me that anything I thought she was starting to feel for me again wasn't true, and that she was sorry, but she doesn't want me anymore. That's what happens. The sexual polarity totally dissipates. Because you went from being this assertive guy, I mean, yeah, you were being kind of an asshole about it because you broke her heart, and then you blew her off, and then you come running back, and instead of acting like that assertive guy and be charming and playful, you instead started acting like a woman. And obviously you didn't get anywhere with it. So he says, ever since we haven't talked and I don't know what to do. I don't want to give up because I really do love her and I know she still has to love me. I took her virginity and I was her first love. I feel like she's being manipulated by her parents who aren't happy with me, and I want to make things right with them, but I want to talk to her so I can show her that I'm different and I mean that I'm sorry. Well, you've already tried to prove yourself to her and it didn't work. And it takes two to make a relationship work. And at this point, she obviously ain't willing to work on it, and she ain't willing to give you a chance anymore. So the only thing you can do is say, honey, I love you and I want to work it out. I'm sorry, but it takes two to make a relationship work. And if you're not willing to make the effort, then it's a moot point. But give me a call if you change your mind, because I'd love to see you. He says, I know I shouldn't talk to her, but I feel like that's the only way to see her to make plans. Please help. I would greatly appreciate it. What you're trying to do is force yourself upon her. You're trying to force her to change her mind by being in her face all the time. And that's not making you look strong. It's not helping the case. Like I said, walk away, wait to hear from her. When she reaches out, assume she wants to see you, and make a date. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. It's really simple. Don't complicate things. So let's get into the third email. This guy says, fuck Corey, LOL. I'm shaking my head. This is more of a peace of mind of letter for me, being that I have stuck to my guns and not contacted and only responded accordingly. Shortly after, she told me that she wasn't going to chase me and all that jazz, but lo and behold, I get yet another text saying, I had a dream that you were growing your hair out. Wouldn't that be cool if it were true? Random, I know. Isn't it funny? I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to chase after you. Really? You're not? Well, give me a call when you change your mind, sweetheart. And what happens when she doesn't hear from you because you're acting like a man? She reaches out. Why? To bond and connect with you. Why? Because that's feminine energy, and that's what women do. They want to bond and connect, and that's why they reach out. When you go against that reality, you experience pain and rejection. He says, I'm thinking, really? At this point, I jump right in, playing around, of course, saying, yeah, it's long enough for you to grab and pull on when you climax later on today. She goes, huh? Going back to the methods I've been using with other women, it's fucking awesome that I learned from Coach Corey Wayne. I saw this coming. It's like when you interact in these ways, I mean, literally women become predictable. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. It's nice to understand how to act like a man is supposed to act in a relationship so you can be charming and playful and get what you want. It makes things really easy. And when you see women respond in ways just like he's talking about here and that I talk about all the time, that builds your confidence. And the more confident and the more certain you feel in your personal life, it makes you feel peaceful and balanced inside. Because you know that your girl's going to love you just because you're a man and because you act like a man. And you don't have to be anything other than yourself, but what you have to do is act like a masculine dude and be assertive and stand up for what you want. And if she still has attraction and interest, guess what? She will come back. And if she doesn't have interest, she won't come back. He says, I hit her with one or more 2 texts, fucking with her, and then I say, so I suppose you want to hang out. Good fucking job. In my last text to her, I specifically told her, if I ever hear from her again, I'll just assume that you miss me and want to kiss me and love me. Moi. Just like that. She says, just because I text you doesn't mean I want you, duh. That is totally a fucking test. She is testing you right there. And this is the fun, playful banter. Again, this is like the TV show I was talking about a minute ago, Castle. That's what you see the two of them doing a lot of, and it's beautiful. He says, I'm thinking fair enough. I tell her, if you change your mind, let me know. And she says, I don't think, she doesn't say no, but she says, I don't think that's going to happen because I'm leaving for 4 days. Allegedly, she's moving away to Arizona. So that most likely will not happen. And he says back to her, cool, I wish you the best and I hope you find what you're looking for. And she says, thanks a bunch. I had some great experiences with you. Even though it didn't last, I wish you all the best as well. Should be over, right? He says, fuck no, LOL. I get a text saying, say hi to Thor. And 3 pictures of a puppy named Thor. She would text me Thor sometimes. We talked before about what type of dog she wanted. And I wanted a pit bull. And she didn't. Can you guess what type it was, LOL? I told her to call me at that point. And she said, okay, call me later that night. And then I told her, I'm not your male girlfriend, nor will I ever be. You know I adore you, and I want to work it out. And I told you if you change your mind, let me know. You're disrespecting my wishes, and that's not cool. And she says, I'm so sorry. I apologize that I didn't mean to disrespect you. I was blown away a little bit. This is a first. And I said, cool, and I got off the phone. My gut tells me she's working her way back to me. Yeah, if she's chasing you, it's kind of funny. It's like her calling you and saying, hey, I'm not going to call you anymore and I'm moving away. Sometimes women will say that just to see how you react, to see if you come chasing after him, which would be weak, or to see if you become uncentered. And if you remain centered and you're masculine, guess what? It's just a matter of time before she comes back. So he says there's lots of holes in her story so far as far as her moving away and whatnot that I can't get into, but I will not. He says, what's really good, coach? This shit is the bee's knee, and as always, many thanks. So that's what happens. The guy has stopped moving forward, but he's being playful, and he's being charming, and he's being sweet. He's being assertive. He's letting her know he's not being a dickhead. He's being he's being nice, but he's being playful and assertive. And that's the difference between the nice guy and the guy that gets walked all over. And so the assertive guy is kind of the perfect, assertive, charming guy is kind of like the perfect balance between the nice guy and the jerk. That's right in the middle. And he's handling things beautifully. And so when she reaches out, you assume she wants to see you, and you make a date. You hang out, have fun, and hook up. Even though she says it's not going to happen. How many James Bond movies have you seen when a woman's like, you're not getting in my pants? And then what happens later on? He gets in her pants. It's just a test of your strength. Because that's what women want. They want your absolute best, and that's what they deserve. They want your strength. They want your masculinity. They want you to do what you want to fucking do. Because why? Because that's what pleases you. It makes you happy. And when they see that you're not going to run after them, but you're going to act like a man, then that makes them feel comfortable that they can trust your masculine core, and so therefore they come back. So let's get into the fourth and final email. This guy says, "Hi Corey, I'm 21 years old and I've been watching all of your videos since a year ago, and I'm very much improved to another level as a human. I recently, 7 months ago, have a great girlfriend who's crazily in love with me, and for all I know, it's all because I acted and think almost the same as you would from the day we met. I've never been a beta male, but you inspire me to another level, man. It's fucking unreal. Thanks, Corey." You're welcome. It's my pleasure. He says, "After having for what I was searching for, I didn't stop watching your videos, and I'm continuously absorbing all your material just to adopt your ways of thinking. For I see a great impact in my life after practicing what you preach on a daily basis, such as my confidence, maturity, the way I see myself, and my improvement in English." He says, "I'm from Asia. So my girlfriend is crazy rich, and my parents are just an employee who makes a good amount of money. It's okay with her, of course, but my desires of getting rich is going to the top. I want to make her happy in the future by owning a business empire too. I know I'm thinking too far for you, but let's just say I want to marry her." Whoa, dude, slow your roll. Take your time with this. It's not a sprint or a mad dash to the finish line. He says, "Please answer with all you got, Corey, my mentor." He says, "How do I make our relationship last for good for the next 6 or 7 years from now?" The key is you have to date your girlfriend and your wife, because if you don't, some other dude will come along and date her for you and happily take her off of your hands. The courtship never ends. That's the biggest thing that guys that are struggling with in relationships is they stop dating, courting their girlfriend and wife. In other words, they live together for a couple years, maybe they have a couple kids, they get busy raising the kids, he kind of starts to let himself go physically, he's just not taking care of himself, he's not doing the things that he used to do with his friends, he just kind of sits inside and watches TV all day, and he stops dating his wife because he figures, hey, we're so busy with the kids, I don't have the time to take her out. And so he doesn't, since they're not going out and spending quality time together, it's like there starts to be this divide that forms between the two of them, and he no longer makes her feel like he loves her. He's no longer showing her through his actions. And so what you do to get her to fall in love with you is what you're going to keep her in love with you, and that's why the courtship never ends. Women already know, they already understand that if you really love them, you're going to show them through your actions. That means you're going to continue to date and court them properly. And obviously the communication skills that I talk about in my book, by getting her to talk and open up and work through her problems by talking about them, understanding when it's appropriate to give her advice and when you should be listening by simply asking a simple question like, do you want me just to listen or do you want my advice? And most of the time she'll just say, no, I just want your advice. And you go, what else, honey? Tell me more. And you keep her talking. He says, how do I make her know that it will be hard for sometimes before we eventually have the finer things in life? Well, if she's crazy head over heels in love with you because you're romancing her properly, she won't fucking give a shit. She'll just want to be with you, and as long as the two of you are together, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, none of the other shit's going to matter. Whether you're rich or poor, it won't fucking matter. At least she'll be with her man. And that's why she doesn't care that you're not rich at this point. She loves you for you because you're acting like a man is supposed to act, and that's what she wants. Even though you might be broke as a joke now, that's why she's comfortable letting you be the leader, because you act like a man, and you have goals, and you have ambitions, and you have dreams, and you obviously talk about them to her and with her and what you want. And since you act like a man, she trusts and believes in you that you're actually taking action, you're going to make it happen one day. He said, what would you do if you were my age and wanting to start a big business empire in your middle 20s? Follow your passions. Follow what you love. I did an article a while back called How Find a Way to Add Value. That's what any business is. You look at a company like Apple Computer. That whole company, all tens of thousands of Apple's employees are focused on one single goal. And that's to create really great technology products that make people's lives easier. Microsoft, when they first started out, they were focused on how do we become the intelligence that runs all computers. Google, when they started out, how do we organize the world's information and make it instantly available to anyone, anywhere on the planet? That was their single goal. And of course, with all the success these companies have had, they've gotten into other things. But a business is nothing more than it provides some kind of service. Like my business is mostly a service type of business, but I also have products, obviously, in the form of books and other things that I sell, or coaching sessions. But people pay me for my time because of the service that I offer. A company like Apple, they mostly build products, but yes, they do have service, meaning if you drop your iPhone, you break it, you go in and there's people there that can fix that. Or you look at a car company, what are they focused on? Obviously, they're focused on making really kick-ass cars. And that's what you should focus on, is focus on something that you're really passionate about. I did a video yesterday where I talked extensively about that, or I should say a couple days ago, on what you need to focus on if you're going to go into business. You got to do something you're really passionate about and you really love, and you want to synthesize that into some kind of a business. In other words, it's like if you follow your passions, if you follow your heart, your curiosity, maybe you go work for somebody else and you gain some experience working for them for a couple of years. If they build a product or they provide some kind of service that really jazzes you, follow your passions. Follow the things that really excite you, the things that you're curious about. Because when you go and work there, you'll work hard to get ahead in that company. And if you ever find yourself getting bored at that company, then you want to move on to another opportunity. Because I did that a lot in my 20s. I had an idea of what I thought a company was going to be like, or a job was going to be like. I go work there, and after a couple of years, I usually became bored because I had done everything that they had to offer. I had done every challenge that they had, and I was looking for the next big thing. And while I worked there and worked for these people, obviously I earned a good living. I learned the business, but I also learned, because like back when I was working in the construction industry, I initially started out working for a very small general contractor down in South Beach, and we did a lot of hurricane rebuilding. We did like 45 homes, several multi-hundred unit condo complexes that were damaged after Hurricane Andrew came through in South Dade. And then after all that work was finished, I was involved with a lot of development work down in South Beach in the early 90s, when South Beach was kind of coming back. Because what you had then is you had this older generation of really old people living in these old rundown hotels, and most of them basically died off, and so a lot of these things got boarded up and just sat there. And then people started buying them up and renovating them, and that's the Art Deco district. And so I was involved in a lot of that stuff back then, but I got bored after a couple of years. And one of the guys that I worked for, he was just a fucking asshole, and I didn't like working for the dude. And then I had always thought maybe one day I might want to become a developer, and I ended up going to work for a general contractor in the Fort Lauderdale area that developed single-family home communities and luxury condos and things of that nature. And so I got involved in that side of the business. And after working for them for a couple of years and doing a bunch of much larger type of commercial work, I realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then so I went to work for Syntex Corporation, which was the largest builder in the world back in the mid-90s. And I worked for one of their divisions called Syntex Rooney on a Disney World job. It was a $150 million 2-year project. It was the Coronado Springs Resort. It was a 300,000 square foot convention center and 2,000 hotel rooms. I was a project engineer on the job. And so I got to work on small stuff and really big stuff. So I learned the building industry inside and out. But what I'd always really wanted to do since I was a kid was buy, fix up, and sell single-family homes for a profit. So I started looking for single-family homes that I could buy and fix up and obviously sell and make a profit on. And that's what I started doing. And that kind of evolved into a business, and eventually I got into general real estate, mortgages, and just because I saw opportunities tended to pop up. And I saw, we already had a mortgage company because we were providing financing for the people that were buying our foreclosure properties from us. And so we started doing general real estate and mortgages just for the general public, and just to basically utilize the mortgage license that we already had. And it worked really well. We got to a point where we had 40 employees and we were grossing about $7 million a year as a company. And we had about 7 companies between myself and my 2 business partners. And it was a great business. And then, and after that, I ended up getting into peak performance coaching, which is what I do right now. But throughout it all, what I was basically focusing on, I was listening to my own internal voice. Whether it was working for somebody else when my internal enthusiasm was gone, working for that company. In other words, you have an idea of what you want to do and you have a passion for that, and you go and you get a job working in a company thinking things are going to be a certain way. And obviously once you work there and you get to see what things are really like, it's like once the enthusiasm is gone, that's when it's time to move on and start looking for the next opportunity in the next industry. Maybe a different company with a slightly different, like if you're in the technology field, you'll work for a company, and then after a couple of years of that, you get tired of it, you get bored, you don't really feel like you're challenged anymore, and then you go into another aspect of that particular field. It's just a slow progression. And what happens is when you work for other people, you feel good, you feel peaceful, you feel relaxed because your bills are being paid, and you can see opportunities. And what I ended up doing when I was working in real estate, I went to work for a company that was buying my foreclosure properties from after I had left Syntex. And after about a year and a half, I decided that I was ready to leave because they were basically getting ready to give everybody a big pay cut because they thought we were all making too much money. And I was thinking, fuck this. So I approached my two business partners and I said, hey, let's go into business together. And so we all went and we started a couple companies together. And we gave ourselves basically a 70% raise. And I remember we made our $60,000 our first month in business together. It was fantastic. And so I still was buying, fixing, and selling houses on my own on the side, in addition to flipping properties and getting into general real estate mortgages and things of that nature. But it's just when I saw their opportunities, because I was already working in the industry, I took advantage of it. By working for somebody else, though, you can make connections. You can get to know people that maybe become a business partner eventually, or they become allies, or people that can help you, maybe potential investors for your business. And that's the benefit of working for other people while you look for opportunities. Because once you see an opportunity and you're enthusiastic about it and you're excited about it and you're making money doing that same thing, working for somebody else, and then you go and you open your own shop, well, you already know how to do it and you already have all the connections that you need. And it's really simple to make a really successful business when you do it that way. So he says, and tell me why you share the belief of not settling down. I get it, but ain't that a way to get a peace of mind at the end of the day? Settling is for fucking pussies. Absolutely fucking not. Because you're going to make yourself miserable. I tried settling once. That's what led to me getting married. Is what I should have done was broken up with my girlfriend, but instead I married her because everybody around me talked me into it and told me I'd be a fucking fool. But what was really going on is I wasn't listening to my heart. I wasn't trusting what I felt inside. Because Western society really doesn't teach you any value on that. It's actually kind of looked down upon. They more are focused on doing what you are supposed to do or what they think you should be doing instead of what feels right for you. He says, have you ever met someone who makes you want to spend the rest of your life with? And what if I say this girl is the one? That's why you should date her for several years. And to answer your question, yes. It's like when you first start dating someone and you fall in love for the first year or two, you think you're going to be married to this person, be with the rest of your life. And that's why you should date 2-3 years or more, because it's like once the infatuation wears off, and just think about it, how often do you meet a new best friend? It doesn't happen every day. And that's why, because I know what it's like to make a mistake and marry the wrong person. And I've come close with two different women that I was certain when I started dating each of them, like, this is it, this is the perfect girl for me. And it was great and it was wonderful, but it's like once that wears off and the infatuation wears off, you still love this person. I mean, I love both these women to this day. Even though one of them I haven't talked to in several years, the other one I talked to once or twice a year, and she's still a dear friend. I love her to death. But if your goals and your values are not aligned, it's not going to work, because sex is just a really small part of a relationship in a marriage. And if you don't like hanging out with that person, if you don't just really enjoy one another, if you don't find the things that she's interested in fascinating and vice versa, once you get over the newness of the sex and fucking each other's brains out, you're just not going to like hanging out together. And that's why it's important to date for several years until you get to that point. Because obviously, it sounds like you're pretty new with this girl and you haven't really been dating her that long to really make the determination. You're still kind of in the honeymoon phase at this point. But it's like once that wears off, if you can't imagine another woman complimenting you in any other better way than that, and it feels right inside, and it feels right internally for her, and your goals and your values are aligned, then absolutely. Then and only then is it the right thing to do to go ahead and get married, if that's what you want. Maybe you could live together as well. I mean, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have done it pretty successfully for almost 2 decades at this point. It's like, hey, whatever floats your boat. He says, I'm really looking forward to your answer, and I want to know what you're thinking. He says, I think it will be a great improvement for me. Awesome. Thanks that was a great email, by the way. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone coaching session. You can do that by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session with yours truly. And I will talk to you soon.